I'm Matt Neild, I'm an MVP for Content by Kentico, and in this video we're going to take a look at using Next Image with your asset management provider to quickly add performant responsive images to your application. I've created a simple next.js app here. We've just used yarn create next app to get the latest version, and then I've modified the index page so that we just have a simple image on the page. So let's run this really quickly and see what it does. So npm run dev, that's going to spin that up, and over in Chrome, this is our page. Yeah, we've got a microphone image coming through here. We're just using an image tab. It's 300k. It's quite a big image. It doesn't really matter what I do here. Like even on mobile, we're serving a 300k image as we go kind of backwards and forwards through the page. So that's just using a standard image tag, nothing special. If we go back into our code, let's just have a look at the index page. Here it is. It's an image. It's doing nothing special. Rightly so, Visual Studio Code and the plugins that I'm using is telling me that actually you really don't want to use this here. You want to use an image component. Let's do that. How do we do that? It's so straightforward. I'm just going to type in the word image. All the compatible things come up, but if I use this second one down, you can see that it's also going to add the import for next image. So there we go. That's imported. Another 18k, but it's 6k when it's zipped up. I need to add an additional attribute here. You either need here to specify your width and height, or provide a layout property. So I'm just going to provide a layout property here to fill, and I'm going to save that. That sometimes is as far as people get with adding next image. What that's then done on our page, you can kind of see the URL here has changed. So instead of just being the URL for the image, which was retromic.jpg, it's now image and then some params. What's more interesting about this is if I start from over here, let's clear this out so you can see the images being loaded, and I'll load it in. We can see that it's requesting this image here, and you can see the width, the W there, is 750. As I go out, the default settings for next image, it's going to request a bit of a bigger one, It's doing the responsive images for us. So these are the default settings within next image that it's using. I've set no other config up other than to simply use that component. So that looks great already. You know, from 300k to sort of 24k, much smaller images. They're coming back as WebPs as well, which is amazing. But what else has that done? Okay, the way that's actually worked is if we look in our cache folder, there's an images folder been created. Every single one of those images we've just seen that is in here has a physical file sat on this desktop. And that means that the next time Next tries to request that image, it's going to pull it from here instead of doing the resize operation. So that in itself is a much more efficient thing to do. But obviously we're just pulling an image off our local file system now. I want that image to be from my asset management system. How can we go about doing that? Again, it feels like it should be a really simple change. We're going to change the URL of the image to the URL of the image on our asset management. So in my case, I'm getting my image from Content by Kentico, and this is my asset URL. So if this was an image tag, that in itself would be fine. But if I save this and go and have a look at what the browser's done, it's, Next isn't having a good time with that, because Next isn't configured to get images from there. We need to tell it that it can do that. So how do we do that? this is where we need to look at the actual config for next image. So I'm going to load up the next config.js. This is, again, standard out of the box, but we're going to add a new tag called images, a new element even, and inside images we are going to add domains. Domains is an array of strings, so all we're going to do is pick up the domain from our image. Here it is, assets blah blah blah, because I'm on the EU data center for content. We'll copy that and we'll pop that in there. Now, I tend to restart my server when I do this. I think it needs to pick up next config. I'm happy to receive comments to say otherwise. But that's reloaded. So once we've reloaded that, what we can see is the image is now coming from content. But hang on, I think it's still coming from the local host. So let's go and have a look in code and see what's happening now. So we know that we're pulling that image from content. Let's just stop the server and delete all of that cache. We can just drop that, move to trash, and let's restart the server. So that .next folder will reappear. What you'll see in the cache is not a lot. We'll then go back to our page and we're going to load some images, yeah? So there we go, bigger. Oh, we missed one because we went too quickly. So you can see they're kind of coming back as and when they're ready. This one got cancelled because we got the next size already. The upshot of all of this then is when we go back to Visual Studio Code, in our cache folder we've now got images again. So what we're actually doing there is we're still requesting the image from content, but next.js is still doing all of the work to resize those images. What we want is for these images to come directly from content. So let's get them directly from content then. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to somehow tell next image that we want it to take the image from the content server, not from our server. And it turns out this is a really easy thing to do. So let's make some really quick changes and we'll see what we can do. Right, I've made my changes and let me really quickly walk through them. Okay, the first thing is I've added this function here, which all it's going to do is format a string based on some parameters that it will receive. And that's called creating a loader. So the default loader does the behavior we've been seeing before. There are some other built-in loaders for next image. So there's one for Cloudinary, for example, which will deal with retrieving things from the Cloudinary asset management. I'm going to use content, so I've created this one, which isn't included out of the box with next image. And all I'm saying is the image, this is going to be the source, this is going to be the width, the quality, and I want you to auto format it for me. What I then need to do is here, simply tell next image to go and use that function as the loader. That's it. It's as simple as it is. I'm going to delete the next folder before I run this. I'm going to also stop it running at the moment. We'll save this file and we will restart the server. Okay, let's go and have a look at what that has done. So we'll go back down to the small size again, reload. Right, this is now the interesting bit. This image is coming from the assets on contents asset management. As I scale up, I get the next image, the next image, the next image, as we would expect. So those images are coming through. Again, they're smaller, it's all happy. If I go and look VS Code, we'll have a look at the cache, no images. So these are now coming directly from content. They're being resized there, and it's the same for Cloudinary, it's the same for other providers. If you set up the loader correctly for next image, then your images come from the right place. That web traffic does not bother you anymore. And that's it. It's that simple. We've learned how to use next image on our application. We've learned how to configure it to use external domains. And the important part, we've learned how to add a custom loader so that we can allow our asset management system to do all of the hard work, resizing the images in the way that we would expect. So I hope that's been useful for you. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you could add to this, or any comments about what we've spoken about here, or any questions. Thank you.